Leave your house keys. You're not welcome here. That's what my sister said at Thanksgiving dinner, no less. She stood up in front of our entire extended family, raised her glass like she was giving a toast, and instead handed me humiliation. My parents didn't say a word. They just sat there, silently watching me be exiled from my own home. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I simply placed my keys on my dinner platter right between the mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce and walked out without looking back. But what they didn't know was this. The house was in my name. And the next morning, when the mortgage company called them to verify a 990 zero ownership transfer they had tried to push through behind my back, everything changed. Let me tell you how my family's betrayal over a house turned into something much bigger. Growing up, I was the dependable one, the responsible daughter, the one who didn't argue, didn't ask for much, and got straight A's without being reminded. While my sister Lily dyed her hair blue, dropped out of college, and burned through every job she touched, I was quietly building a life I thought my parents would be proud of. They weren't. No matter what I achieved, it was treated like background noise to Lily's latest crisis. She was the sensitive one, the creative soul, the one who needed more support. I was just Rochelle's one who'd be fine no matter what. And because of that, I was left to fend for myself, emotionally, financially, always. When our grandparents passed away, they left behind a weathered old house on the edge of town. It wasn't in perfect shape, but it had character-arched windows, cedar walls, and the kind of silence you can only find in places with history. Everyone in the family saw it as a burden. I saw it as home. So, I bought it. I bought it from the estate fair and square using money I'd saved for years from working 70-hour weeks at an architecture firm. No handouts, no cosigners, just me and a terrifying mortgage. I poured everything I had into restoring that house. New roof, refinished floors, updated plumbing. Every nail, every brushstroke was mine. That place wasn't just property, it was proof. Proof that I could build something permanent, even when no one believed in me. When I moved in, no one helped. My parents didn't visit. My sister mocked it, calling it a witch's cabin. But suddenly, when the renovations were done and the house looked like something out of a magazine, everyone remembered it existed. Especially Lily. She started dropping hints. That house has so much space for one person. Imagine what it'd be like if Tyler had a backyard like that. Her son, Tyler, was 5. He was sweet and smart, but Lily used him like a human shield to justify anything. And my parents? They encouraged it. You should share, Rachel, my mom said once. Lily needs stability. You have so much already. I didn't respond, but I remembered. When Thanksgiving came around and I offered to host, I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be a turning point. A sign that I was finally seen as part of the family again. Not just the convenient, silent background character. I couldn't have been more wrong. Looking back now, I realize the signs were everywhere. They weren't subtle, either. I just didn't want to see them for what they were. It started a few weeks before Thanksgiving. Lily called me out of the blue, unusually cheerful. She asked how the house was coming along, then pivoted almost immediately. Do you have a will yet? Just curious, with everything you've worked for. You never know. I laughed it off. I'm 35, not 80. But she pressed. Well, it's a big property. What happens if something happens to you? The conversation stuck with me, not because of what she said, but how casually she said it. It felt like she wasn't asking out of concern, but calculation. Then my mom came over uninvited for the first time in months. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes sweeping the living room like she was mentally redecorating it. I forgot how spacious this place is, she muttered. Your sister and Tyler could really thrive in a home like this. She then asked for copies of some of my paperwork. Just in case something happens, she said again. That phrase was becoming a pattern. She wanted to store a few family documents in my office. Old tax forms, photo albums, even some of my grandparents' estate papers. I should have said no. I didn't. A few days later, I got a message from a distant cousin who had heard I was giving the house to Lily. Is it true? She asked. Everyone's saying your parents are helping transfer it so Tyler has a proper inheritance. I was stunned. I'm not giving anyone anything, I replied. She didn't answer. I confronted my mother gently that weekend. I've been hearing rumors, I said, about the house, about Lily. She didn't deny it, just smiled. Sometimes families rearrange things to meet everyone's needs. You'll understand when you have children. I didn't respond. I didn't need children to understand betrayal. Then came the final straw before the dinner. My father called not to ask how I was, but to ask about the house title. Is it in your name alone? He asked. Did the lawyer file it as personal property or shared family estate? The word shared made me cold. Why are you asking? Just making sure things are handled properly, he said. Wouldn't want confusion if something happened. There it was again. If something happened? But still, I didn't push back. I wanted peace. I wanted to believe that no one in my family would ever try to take something from me. I was wrong. And on Thanksgiving Day, all those little clues came crashing into clarity with one sentence from Lily that tore through me like a blade. Thanksgiving Day arrived cold and bright, the kind of crisp afternoon that made the leaves glow gold outside the dining room window. I'd spent the morning basting the turkey, lighting cinnamon candles, and setting the long reclaimed oak table with the good china I'd inherited from my grandmother. This wasn't just a dinner, it was a peace offering, a gesture, a chance, I hoped, to feel like a family again. Everyone showed up around 4. My parents came first, carrying a store-bought pie like it was a peace treaty. Then Lily and her son Tyler, bounding in with a backpack full of action figures and that sticky sweetness only 5-year-olds have. Dinner started well enough. I carved the turkey, we passed dishes and exchanged updates about work and weather. But underneath the polite chatter, I felt it, a strange stillness in the air, like the room was waiting for something. Then Lily stood up. She clinked her fork against her wine glass and smiled broadly, like she was about to give a toast. I just want to say how thankful I am for family, she began, eyes shining, and for the way we've come together to make decisions that support each other. My stomach dropped. I know some things haven't always been fair, she continued, but today, we're going to make things right. She turned to me and, with terrifying calmness, said, Rachel, it's time. Leave your house keys. You're not welcome here anymore. Silence. It hit like a slap, echoing louder than any scream. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her, that this was a bad joke. But no one laughed. My parents didn't look shocked. They didn't say a word. My mother stared at her plate. My father sipped his wine like it was water. I looked at Lily. She was still standing, still smiling, as if she had just handed me a party favor instead of a public betrayal. I don't understand, I managed. My voice barely held steady. This is my home. Lily shrugged. The family agreed. You're always alone. You don't need all this space. Tyler does. We've spoken to a lawyer. It's time to transition the house. The room spun. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I looked at my parents, searching for something, disagreement, concern, anything. All I got was silence. So, I did the only thing I could do to keep from shattering completely in front of them. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out my keys, and placed them deliberately, quietly on my dinner plate, right next to the rosemary sweet potatoes. Then I stood, adjusted my sweater, and walked to the door. No one followed. I opened it myself, stepped into the freezing air, and closed it behind me. I didn't cry. Not yet. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the couch at my friend Ava's apartment, staring at the ceiling while the events of the dinner replayed in brutal, high-definition clarity. Lily's voice. My mother's silence. The sound of my keys hitting porcelain. At some point, exhaustion won out, and I dozed oftenly to be jolted awake by the sharp ring of my phone at 7:04 a.m. Unknown number. Hello? My voice cracked. Hi, is this Rachel Morgan? A calm, professional voice asked. This is Andrew Bell from Redwood Mortgage Services. I'm calling about a recent ownership request on your property. My stomach clenched. What kind of request? There was an attempt made late yesterday to initiate a transfer of ownership for the property at 114 Willow Lane, he said. The request included updated contact information and a new co-owner addition. Due to the high value, 990.08 was flagged for manual review. I sat upright. New co-owner? Who? The names provided were Lily Morgan and Thomas Morgan. Are you familiar with them? My hands went cold. Yes, that's my sister. And my father. He continued, carefully now. They also submitted scanned documents verifying family ties and claimed the original deed was misfiled, arguing the property was intended as part of a family trust. That's a lie, I said, almost choking. The house is in my name alone. I bought it myself. I have the deed. The closing documents everything. I believe you, he said. Which is why I'm calling. The system flagged the social security mismatch, and something felt off. We've frozen the process for now, but I'd advise you to speak with your attorney as soon as possible. Thank you, I whispered. When I hung up, I sat in silence, phone still in my hand. There it was. Confirmation. They hadn't just embarrassed me at dinner. They had planned to legally steal my house all while smiling over mashed potatoes. Within an hour, I was sitting in my lawyer's office. Naomi Feldman had been my closing attorney when I bought the house. She was sharp, no nonsense, and didn't blink as I told her what happened. They tried to transfer the title? She repeated. Using a fake family trust? I nodded. Classic soft fraud, she muttered, flipping through her files. They're counting on you not fighting back, on you freezing emotionally, but we're not going to let them. She immediately contacted the county registrar's office to place a protective legal hold on the property. Then she drafted a cease and desist letter and initiated a motion to preemptively challenge any fraudulent title claims. By noon, I had also filed a police report for attempted property fraud. I felt like I was operating on autopilot, shaky hands, numb face, but at least I was doing something. Still, nothing could quite prepare me for what Naomi discovered next. A document submitted as proof had my forged signature on it. My name, my handwriting, my initials. But I had never signed it. Naomi placed the forged document in front of me. It was nearly perfect, my name, my signature, even the casual little loop I always added to the R. Whoever had done this had studied me closely. But the notary stamp was off, and the date? It was 2 months before I'd even moved into the house. This isn't just bold, Naomi said, her voice tight. It's criminal. I stared at the page like it might catch fire. My father had forged my signature before. Once, when I was in college, he co-signed a loan application on my behalf to help Lily with tuition. Back then, I had let it go. I'd told myself it was family. This time was different. This time, they were trying to erase me. Naomi wasted no time. She contacted a handwriting expert to verify the forgery and filed an emergency injunction with the local housing court. We had to stop the transfer before it slipped through some administrative crack. Within 24 hours, the judge approved the injunction and set a hearing date for the following week. Meanwhile, I started receiving messages from Lily. I know this feels harsh, but we had to act before things got too complicated. Tyler needs this house. From my mother. You always had trouble sharing. We're just balancing the scales. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal. The woman who carried me, whose voice used to read me stories at night, had signed off on stealing my home and called it balance. I didn't reply. Instead, I printed every message. I documented every call. I stayed at Ava's apartment, updated my bank alerts, added video surveillance to the house, and froze my credit. But it didn't stop them from showing up. 2 days before the hearing, Lily, my parents, and a man in a blazer showed up at my house. They tried to access it. My security system caught them attempting to use the spare key I'd forgotten was still taped inside the garden shed. When it didn't work, they stood on the porch for nearly an hour, talking, filming, smiling. The footage went straight to Naomi, who forwarded it to the judge as proof of intimidation and continued attempted access. They think they're untouchable, Naomi said, but they're about to learn otherwise. When the court date arrived, I walked into the courthouse with Naomi at my side and trembling legs beneath me. My family sat across the aisle. My father wouldn't look at me. My mother stared daggers. Lily smiled like we were at a brunch. Their lawyer, a smooth-talking estate attorney named Clark, opened with, "This is a tragic family misunderstanding that should never have reached court." My clients believed they were fulfilling the wishes of the Morgan family legacy. Naomi stood. "What legacy involves forged signatures, unauthorized title transfers, and illegal impersonation?" Clark flinched. Naomi walked the court through the entire timeline. The deed in my name. The mortgage fully paid from my account. The suspicious document with inconsistent notary marks. The expert report confirming the signature was not mine. The messages. The surveillance footage. Everything. When I testified, my voice shook, but I didn't stop. I told the judge about the dinner. The silence. The way no one stopped Lily. I described how they'd always expected me to be the quiet one, the one who wouldn't fight. But I am fighting, I said quietly. Because if I don't, they'll do this again. To me. To someone else. They don't believe I deserve to own anything they can't control. Lily's smile faded then. When the judge ruled, it was swift. This court finds the attempted transfer unlawful. Further, based on the evidence of forgery and intimidation, I'm authorizing a temporary restraining order and referring this case for criminal investigation. Ms. Morgan retains full and exclusive ownership. I didn't cry. I didn't cheer. I just breathed. It was over. Or so I thought. The restraining order gave me 90 days of space, but silence wasn't peace. My parents didn't try to reach me directly again. Instead, I started getting emails from extended family members. Some were curious, some accusatory. "I heard you took your family to court? Over a house? Your mom's been crying every night. Lily's just trying to raise a child, Rachel. You always were private." Private. That was the word they used instead of independent. Instead of boundary setting. Instead of the only one who ever paid her own bills. I didn't respond. Instead, I sat on the floor of my now empty house, surrounded by files, surveillance printouts, the restraining order documents, and a deep, relentless ache in my chest. I had won. But I no longer felt like this house was mine. Not because they deserved it, but because I couldn't breathe inside it anymore. Every corner reminded me of a conversation I now questioned. Every window echoed their silence. Every floorboard, once sanded by hand, now felt like part of a battlefield. So I made a decision. I listed the house for sale. It took less than 3 weeks. A young couple, bright, in love, pregnant with their first child, fell in love with it the moment they stepped inside. I watched them walk through the garden I had rebuilt, touch the walls I had painted, and I felt something strange and liberating. Relief. I signed the papers. I handed them the keys. And for the first time since Thanksgiving, I smiled without effort. With a portion of the proceeds, I established a small foundation, the Haven Fund. It would provide legal support and emergency housing grants for women facing family-based financial abuse. I partnered with Naomi. We built something real out of something rotten. People ask why I didn't just keep the house and move on. But I wasn't interested in rebuilding over ashes. I wanted clean ground. I wanted to choose joy without ghosts haunting the walls. I found a small loft in a converted textile mill across town, open beams, brick walls, sun flooding in every morning. It wasn't grand. It wasn't inherited. It was entirely mine, built from nothing but earned peace. I never spoke to Lily again. My mother sent one final message, handwritten. "If you'd rather live without us, so be it, but we didn't raise you to be this cold." I didn't answer. Because the truth is, they didn't raise me. They raised a version of me they could manage. The rest, I raised on my own. 1 year later, I hosted Thanksgiving again. Not in that old house, someone else was making memories there now, and I was glad for that. This time, it was in my loft. The ceilings were lower, the tables smaller, but the laughter was louder. Ava came early and brought candles. Naomi arrived with a bottle of wine and a stack of coasters, shaped like tiny houses. My coworker Julian brought his famously dry cornbread, and even my upstairs neighbor stopped by with pumpkin pie. She swore she didn't burn. She did. There were no place cards. No family politics. No chairs held by people silently watching you get exiled. Just warmth and music and people who showed up because they wanted to, not because they felt entitled to a seat. At one point, Ava raised her glass and said, "To Rachel, for building a life you don't have to apologize for." Everyone clinked glasses. I didn't cry, but the lump in my throat was real. Later that night, after the last dish had been washed and the last candle had flickered out, I stood by the window and looked out at the quiet street below. A year ago, I had left my keys on a dinner plate and walked out of a house that no longer felt safe. Today, I locked the door behind people I trusted and felt completely at home. That's the thing about freedom. It doesn't always come with a parade. Sometimes it arrives in stillness, in peace, in the quiet understanding that you don't owe your life to people who only show up to take. I didn't rebuild the same life they tried to take from me. I built something better, not in spite of the betrayal, but because I finally understood that love without respect isn't love. And family? Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who honors your boundaries, celebrates your growth, and never demands the keys to your soul in exchange for their approval.